Good morning, Director Torres. We see you. Are you planning on coming in today or? Okay,
I am. I'm en route.
great. Thank you. I have 2 minutes. One minute. I have 9:30. On Sunday. I have 9:30.
Okay, everyone, it is 9:30. Good morning and welcome everyone to the regular board meeting for Western Municipal Water District Board of Directors here on beautiful August 3rd. Who could have thought we were already this far into the year? It's all kind of just snuck up on us, hasn't it? Kind of realized looking at my calendar the other day, wow, it's really August. So with that, Madam Secretary, if you could please read in our COVID protocols and take roll for the board.
Thank you. Good morning. Pursuant to Western Municipal Water District Resolution 3242, in an effort to protect the public health, prevent the spread of COVID-19, and because state and local officials are recommending measures to promote social distancing, the public may view this board meeting virtually, via Zoom, and in person. This meeting is being live streamed at WMWD.com and will be video recorded for on-demand viewing and broadcasting purposes. As stated on the agenda, members of the public who wish to comment on any item on the agenda may make comments in person, virtually via Zoom, or by submitting comments on the district's website. Comments received on the district's website before 4:30 p.m. August 2nd, 2022 will be made part of the board meeting record. For those participating in the Zoom meeting who wish to provide public comments, please indicate such by using the raise hand feature, and we will call on you individually. For those participating by telephone who wish to provide public comment, you may do so by pressing *6 to unmute yourself. Phone callers can also press *9 to activate the raise hand feature. If there is more than one caller, you will be identified and called on one at a time. Any public comment will be limited to 3 minutes in duration. However, the presiding officer reserves the right to reduce the amount of time you will be allowed to speak to ensure that all members of the public have an opportunity to provide their comment. I will now take roll call for the meeting. Due to the complexity of conducting this meeting by Zoom and telephonically, I will not be taking roll call for staff members or the public at this time. Director Roten.
Here. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Director Rizvi.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. Director Gardner.
I am here.
Thank you. Good morning. Director Torres.
I'm here.
Thank you. Good morning. President Dinstedt.
Good morning, I'm present.
Thank you. Good morning. President Dinstedt, you do have a quorum today.
Thank you very much. At this time, folks, we'll go ahead and ask our employee who's leading us in the pledge today, Andy, if you could please step up to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andy Pong, and I am the application specialist for, and I work in the Information Services Department, and I'm happy to be here to lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you.
Begin today. Okay, ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's always so nice when we have our employees join us today for the pledge. So it's nice to see all these folks that work in the building and support our services and keep our ship moving in the right direction. So
Andy was one of the employees that we hired during the pandemic, during the lockdown. And so he came in and interviewed, and we said, "Thank you, you got the job, now go home." And no one saw him for a long time. And when he reappeared, we're like, "That's right. Andy,
Wow.
welcome. It's good to see you in person." So
Well,
we're good
thank you so
we're
much.
glad to have him.
Thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the building. Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and move into public comments, folks. This is for any item which is not currently posted on our agenda under the jurisdiction of this agency to act upon. You will have a customary 3 minutes for public comment. Madam Secretary, at this time, do we have any member of our audience or any member joining us on Zoom today who wishes to comment under public comments?
President Dinstedt, I see no members on Zoom requesting to speak. I've had no requests in the audience, and I have received no written requests.
Thank you very much. We will go ahead and close public comments today, and I will move on to our consent calendar at this time. Is there any member up on the dais who wishes to pull any item from the consent calendar? Okay. Is there any member of the public wishing to comment on any item on the consent calendar?
I see no members requesting to speak.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll pull it back up to the dais for a motion.
Move to approve.
I have a motion from Director Rizvi and a second from Director Gardner to approve the consent calendar. Madam Secretary, if you could take the roll call vote, please.
Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Aye.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstedt?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to items to be added to our agenda today, Mr. Miller.
There's nothing to add today.
Thank you, sir. Legal counsel, good morning, sir. Anything to
morning.
add to our agenda today?
No, Madam President.
Thank you so much. Moving on to our action agenda this morning for a capital improvement project. Mr. Miller, did you want to go ahead and kick this off?
Yeah, happy to. Thank you. This went before the Finance Committee. We've been talking to the board about this for a long time. Talked a lot about it in the budget process. This is a big item for us. This is to approve the capital budget in the amount of $4.2 million for the Infor Cloud Suite Financials Implementation Project. Did I get that right, Veronica?
Yes, very.
Veronica Zhang is going to give you a briefing on this.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So I'm excited to be here. After multiple verbal presentations at the Finance Committee, we finally bring this to the board for adoption. So Infor Cloud Suite Financial Implementation Project is the specific name we're going to use for the next ERP implementation. If we can go to the next slide, please. So let me give a little bit background of this project. So Infor Lawson Enterprise Resource Planning System, Infor Lawson, is what we currently use, which was implemented back in 2010. So by now, we've been into it for 12 years. Next year going to be the 13th year. And then Western utilizes this current system for our procurement and all accounting needs. Requa, the JPA, is also on that system. Back in 2019, we engaged a third-party agency, Kinsey & Kinsey, perform a gap analysis on the current Infor Lawson system. Through that study, there's some low-hanging fruits shaking out, but the biggest concern is the viability of the current system. So in 2020 and 2021, we engaged Government Financial Officers Association, GFOA. It's a nonprofit organization. We engaged their IT consulting team for a strategic planning analysis for our ERP system and its long-term health and viability. Next page, please. Thank you. So there's current system challenge identified. Of course, the first one is the viability of it. It's being developed with the legacy software language, which is no longer used in the modern system nowadays. And the Infor support for the current system will also end in April 2026. We do have a service contract with them, which ends July 2023. So in addition to that, Microsoft Server Operating System, which is the supporting system for the current system, also gonna end October 2023. So these are the pressing dates and deadlines that we are facing for the system, in addition to the lacking of system integration with the current system, as well as inadequate reporting capabilities with the old software language behind supporting it. Next page, please. So with that, during these studies, we formed a project team consisting of staff from various departments, including accounting, purchasing, information system, operations, and then I was identified as the project sponsor. I used the project sponsor name instead of the project manager because later on you'll realize there's multiple project manager going to be involved. It will be from the implementation side, from the project management consulting side. So in order to differentiate the name, I put myself as project sponsor here. So GFOA was also engaged in providing software vendor selection assistance. So with that, we issued a request for information to Infor in July, and then we assessed their system through a 2-day demonstration of their software in August, as well as additional meeting sessions in the group setting with multiple departments just to discuss certain aspects and features of their new system. Next slide, please. So with all these discussions and meetings, the project team concur that the Infor Cloud Suite financial solution meets our needs, enhance the end user experience, provides simplified data access and stronger cybersecurity, and most importantly, this modern software system is a cloud-based environment with multi-tenant, which will be a longer expected life to about 20 years. The current on-premise system we have is with the life 10 to 15 years. So by the time we're gonna replace it, next year, it's gonna be 13 years into it, so it's about its life. But the new system, since it's cloud-based, maintained by the software vendor rather than on our server, it's expected to be longer life. So also, the new system has an updated chart of account functionality that greatly enhances reporting capabilities. Next slide, please. So after the software provider is identified, we went to 2 RFP process. The first one is the implementation service provider selection. So with that process, there's 5 proposals that we received, and the project team evaluated all 5 based on the criteria listed here. And then we collectively selected Infor, which is also the software provider, as the implementation vendor. Next slide, please. So the second RFP that we issued is on the project management services. Because this is a significant ERP replacement project, and then our internal expertise is not in the area of implementation software day-to-day. So we think that seeking expertise in a project management firm that's specialized in ERP implementation is an important and needed service. So we issued RFP, we received 7 proposals, and based on the criteria listed here, the project team collectively landed on DataClimb as our project management service provider. Next slide, please. So here's the most important topic, which is our project cost estimate and in detail. So as you can see, the budget category was divided into 3 major sections. The top section is the third-party vendor cost. The next is the internal cost, mainly involve labor and fringe. And the third category is the contingency that could be either internal or external costs eventually, if it happens. So under the third-party vendor cost, we have the project planning consultation with the GFOA, as I explained earlier, that's about $68,000. We put some budget for the legal review, which we utilize BB&K, their attorney Glenn Price is specialized in software contract review, so we engaged his service for reviewing the contract. And there's initial year of the software subscription. So the software subscription is a 7-year contract for a total of $966,000, and then it's an annually charge of $138,000. Through additional discussion and negotiation with the service provider, we landed on an additional optional 3-year renewal for the subscription services at a price from the base of $138,000 with a price increase of greater of the then CPI or 4%. So we think it's a reasonable pricing and escalation scale. So that gives us about 10 years of cost control on the software subscription. And then we have $100,000 for existing system support. And the next 2 lines are the software implementation service and project management service. The $948,000 and the $368,000, these are fixed, not to exceed pricing on these 2 services. Below that, there's the technical support, there's the quality assurance support, the organizational change management and training support. These are optional services with not to exceed pricing. So they're gonna charge us based on time and material on the hourly rate that's already negotiated, but there's a not to exceed pricing already locked down the total price for that. So in addition to that, we're gonna ask for some temp labor support at the rate of 2 FTE for 12 months. That's estimated at $250,000. So for the third-party cost, it's about $2.6 million. And there's the internal cost of labor and fringe. These are fixed costs to the district. It's not incremental costs. However, these labor are gonna be repurposed to the project as needed for, like, testing purpose, discovery meeting purpose. So that's project at 1.15 million. It's a lot of internal resources that we need to utilize in order to successfully implement the project. So the contingency is about 450,000, a little bit over 10% of the overall project cost. With this, I'm asking for the $4.2 million project budget. This is already included in the current board-adopted capital CIFP, Capital Improvement and Facilities Plan. So that's the budget of the project. Next slide, please. So here is the timeline and next steps. So the project implementation, we expect our target to start beginning October 2022. With the 12 months implementation time, we are target to be completed by October 2023. The next step will be, of course, finalize the contract with the remaining discussion and fine-tuning before general manager can execute the software and vendor contracts. Then is the purchase order issuance with key vendors, and then engaging with HR for temp labor assistance. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, well, that was quite a detailed report. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I noticed that we did have our vendor on the Zoom today. Is that correct?
Yes, I should mention, I'm sorry. Yeah, our vendor from Infor, Apurva Padeha, and then our vendor for the data climb, his name is Clarence Clark, yes. Drawing a blank.
Okay.
Yeah, they are both on the Zoom today for any questions you may have.
Well, thank you, and I'd like to give both of them an opportunity to speak on this item, if they are prepared to do that. Mr. Clark, I see, well, at least I saw him temporarily on the screen. There we go. Welcome.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I don't have much to add to that very thorough report that Veronica provided. We were happy to engage her team through the process of really trying to right-size the solution for project management services. So we feel like, we have a very solid proposal in front of you to move forward and really help Western really organize its resources and support the project in a fashion that will make it successful at the end of the day. So all I can really say is that we are honored to be able to help you with this project, and certainly look forward to getting started in October. And it's nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here today. And stand by, because we might have a couple of questions, so I'm going to go around the room here in just a second. And our other person, I'm sorry, is that?
Apurva?
Okay.
Yes, hi, good morning, I'm here.
Good morning.
I have nothing else to add. We've been going back and forth with the negotiations for quite a while, so I think Veronica covered a lot of detail there. But we're excited to be working with Western and helping you guys move to the new cloud system. So happy to partner with Western.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for any public comment that we may have on this item. Madam Secretary, is there anyone who wishes to comment publicly on this item?
I see no request to speak, and I've received no written comments.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll go ahead and bring it up to the dais. To my colleagues, any questions from anyone? Director Risby?
Yes. Veronica,
Yes.
so when you talk about contingency, can you explain what are you looking for? What could be, why we have such a big chunk, 10% of the project in that? So the public has an idea of how, why we do have that much budget.
Sure. So for a ERP implementation, when we set up the scope, we are basing on the current system that we have, the current needs. But throughout discovery stage with the implementation team and project management consulting, there could be additional features and things that we overlook or we want to enhance, could be added on to the project. So that could cause possibility of change order of things because it's a huge implementation project across multiple areas of the major transaction cycles, as well as impacting pretty much the overall district financial recording. So there's could be a area that we overlook during the initial process, but we want to revise later on. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but just to keep it safe.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Director Roughton, any questions, comments?
Just a comment, really, thank you, great report. When you see this item printed out, it's, I don't know, 1.5 inches thick easily, maybe 2. So I appreciate you dialing into the really important pieces. And I know so much has gone on before this, so I have a very high comfort level in voting for this. One of the things that catches my eye and might possibly, or my ear catches maybe the public, it's a cloud-based system, which I know has great advantages. But when I, as just a regular old person, think of the cloud, I also think of, okay, well, it's all floating around out there, and what does that mean, and who can get it, and all of that. But I know also in this report you mentioned there's strong cybersecurity. So I don't know if you want to reinforce that or just take my comment as is. That helped me to have a higher comfort level in having the cloud-based system. So.
Here, I would have my comment on that specific topic.
Good morning, everyone. I can certainly address that question, Director. Michael Mauser, I'm the Deputy Director of Information Services for the district. So cloud can be kind of a daunting concept for some. There's a lot of parts and pieces, and it can mean a lot of different things. So in this respect, we have a high level of confidence that this is a good direction and choice for Western. Infor is a very strong company. Their cloud deployment of this software feature or this software system is what Veronica referred to in the presentation as a multi-tenant environment. That means that there's a lot of folks that are reliant on that system, including very large companies and such. So that creates a very strong vested interest for Infor to keep very strong cybersecurity elements in place. In addition, we incorporated into the contract in there that we have that Infor provides cybersecurity protection for any breaches or faults on their part, as well as a bunch of different warranties for uptime. When it comes to the cloud, Western's two main concerns are going to be our data. Is it safe? Can anybody get to it? Because of the fact that they do work with a lot of commercial industry entities and publicly traded companies, there's already a lot of vetting that occurs at that level to make sure that those cybersecurity structures are in place, as well as is the system going to be available to us? Like, is it there when we need it to be? And so we have service level protections in there that guarantee the service will have a high percentage of uptime, and if they should fail to deliver on those uptimes, then they owe us money back. So there's financially backed SLAs in there that cover us from that perspective. One of the main risks to an organization adopting cloud technologies is you got to get to it over the internet, right? So that can become a risk that we don't always look at from a cybersecurity perspective, but if our internet is unavailable, what do we do? So there's a couple of ways that we handle that. One, we have redundant internet connections for Western. That's been a practice that we've had for a good number of years, that if the fiber connections that come into this building are unavailable for whatever reason, a backhoe, that's always a scenario that gets mentioned, then, and I've experienced that. Actually, it wasn't a backhoe, it was cable theft. Someone thought fiber optic cable was copper, so I'm not sure they got much money out of that.
No.
That was years ago, but we also have a wireless connection that we have had to rely on in the past. We have plans to continue to build that redundancy out so that we can rely on that in the event of an emergency. So we have opportunities that have recently become available to us For instance, to establish better internet connectivity over to our operations facility. So if for some reason this building is unavailable, we still have ways to get there. Plus, this new cloud solution will have lots of new mobile capabilities. Because it's cloud-based, there'll be apps so that we can use cellular connections and such like that. So I have a very high comfort level that we've covered those areas, that we are duly considering cybersecurity. We also have a really strong cybersecurity practice here. We've been in front of the board on a couple of different occasions in closed session to talk about how we go about doing that stuff. So we incorporated all of those same concerns and practices into developing this contract and the protections that we have in there for these things. So. Does that help?
Thank you. I really appreciate you elaborating on that. And like I say, I'm 100% behind all of this, but sometimes when a term sticks in my head, I figure, okay, if it's coming to my attention, it might be coming to someone else's. So I really appreciate you going into that in more detail.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Director Torres, questions?
No, great presentation. I'm excited to move into the correct century.
Thank you.
Okay. Director Gardner?
I also have no questions. I did want to compliment you, Veronica, on a really good and thorough presentation.
Thank you.
Both here and in committee. And just kind of follow-up comment on the substantial contingency budget. I think that's actually very wise, rather than have to come back to the board and ask for more money, because there are some unknowns, some significant unknowns, and how this is all going to roll out, and what may come up that may cost money. My only request would be, don't feel compelled to spend it all if you don't need to.
I try
We'll be
not
happy to have you turn some back.
We'll be very careful about that.
I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and just a couple of, I'm going to make a couple of comments, and then I'm going to ask a question. I do remember the first time we did this with Lawson System, and we did that at a really crazy time because we were doing building improvements. We were doing operations. We did this building. We had to move. There were a lot of things that happened, and it might have been just kind of a timing issue and things. So how solid are we on the timeline that has been projected for a project for start to finish? Are we really comfortable with that at this point?
Yes, we have that discussion with GFOA, our consultant initially. Then we vetted with our implementation vendor. So as the project management team, they are feeling the 12-month time frame is the right time frame, should be able to accomplish this implementation.
Veronica, can you tell the board about the relationship with GFAO and how they were used?
So GFOA is a nonprofit government association that they have like annual conferences for municipalities to attend almost every year. And they have a lot of vendors relating to the government sector will be presenting their products and stuff there, in addition to industry, like accounting pronouncements, because it's financial related pronouncements, sessions there. So through that session, we communicate with some of the governmental officers over there, realizing they utilize GFOA consulting team quite often in their IT strategic planning and software vendor selection process. So that's how we started engaging with GFOA in this discovery route to figure out what we should do with our current ERP system, which is going to be outdated very soon. So their consulting team has been in the industry for, I think, more than 20 years, and they've been consulting for more than hundreds of governmental agencies within the United States and then I think part of the California too. So their presence is pretty wild. And then their service was highly recommended by multiple agencies. That's why we engaged them and then utilized their services, which we really appreciate their input of this process.
Okay. No, that's great. And just so everybody knows, in case They don't, because we love acronyms, right? So it's the Government Financial Officers Association, just so in case anybody didn't know. And yes, they are a highly regarded, highly respected, very collaborative team, and that's exactly what they look at. They look at efficiencies, and that is their area of focus, and how that meets all of those financial needs for all of the organizations, because everybody has that type of component and interface. Just one other kind of little question for, and this is probably going to be more for Mr. Mauser. What are we doing as we do a data conversion into the new system to do a backup of data so that nothing is accidentally lost into cyberspace?
So first, Western backs up our data on an ongoing basis. So those practices are already in place. For systems that are business critical, like our customer service environment or our current Lawson environment, one, we utilize virtualization technology heavily, which really sort of streamlines these efforts, makes it easier to get at. We use virtual snapshotting tools, for example, to make sure the actual systems themselves stay intact and are recoverable. We've had to test that, and it works. We also back up the data. I believe for the Lawson environment is once per hour. So we use database technologies to make sure that our transactional history is maintained. What that gets us is that if the electromagnetic pulse, EMP went off and all of our data was destroyed right here, our servers went down, whatever it might be, we can lose no more than 1 hour. That's the level of recovery point objective that we have for that. We replicate all of our backups up to the cloud. So we use a cloud service through Microsoft, which we're highly confident in, to keep copies of that data. We even have the capability, if needed, to activate or spin up that environment in the cloud. So that's the practice that's already in place for what we refer to as our on-premise solutions, which is what we have. As we do this, our staff, Andy, has been very closely involved in this project as well. Andy came to us from another municipal organization, and he has a really strong background in data management. He gets in there and types all these crazy queries out to have data show up, and it works good. He was involved in a couple of other things that have been in front of the board and produced some data that was very valuable to us. So we have folks like Andy that are going to support those efforts directly so that we're not destroying data. Our team is going to be hands-on involved in extracting that data and providing it. Actually, that's even a requirement of the project deliverables, is that our team is first and foremost on data, conversions and stuff like that. So we have a lot of procedural elements in place, as well as our backup routines and stuff that will keep us protected. We have talked about from a historical perspective as well. The current environment is, we call it an on-premise environment, and it utilizes a perpetual licensing mechanism. What that means is once we convert to Infor, we'll stop paying their annual maintenance costs for the system that we have now. But it doesn't mean we have to stop using it. It just means if it breaks and we call them up, they're going to say, sorry, we can't help you anymore. So we're going to keep that system on hand for whatever period of time is appropriate and necessary to ensure we have all the data that we need. So we're not going to destroy that. It's not a destructive process either to do those data migrations. We run extracts and query out the data and use tools to import and migrate that data to the new system.
Okay. No, thank you. I appreciate that, because it's important that the public understands the integrity of the systems and what we're transferring and moving data, the lengthy process that you guys go through to protect and preserve it. So,
Yes.
So thank you. I do appreciate that. And as far as, echoing with my colleagues over the contingency budget, I understand why a contingency is put in place, and I understand that does it so that you don't necessarily have to come back to us, hopefully, with an increase to the budget. But again, I don't like change orders. So, and we'll just leave that comment sit there. Other than that, I think this is the right time, the right place. I think you guys have done a phenomenal job vetting through this process. A number of our team members was part of the original process that we went through when we did the whole Lawson thing. So we've had some team experience here and, what worked really well, and maybe some things that could have been tweaked a little bit better at the time. And so I'm happy to see that all take place. And I think this will be a really good thing. You know, keeping current and keeping standard and keeping up with the times and the data and the technology are very important. And you guys have done a great job, so thank you very much.
Thank you for your support.
And with that, if there are no further comments from any members of the board, I'm looking for a motion.
So move.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Director Torres. Tried to say Torres and motion at the same time. I have a motion from Director Torres, a second from Director Rizvi. Madam Secretary?
Thank you. Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Aye.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstedt?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to our partners and the vendors that are coming on board. We really appreciate you being a part of our project team. Okay.
I also want to thank the staff. This has been a huge lift, huge lift. You know, this is changing the course for hopefully the next 30 years before the company may go obsolete on supporting this again. But, you know, this is really forward thought, and it's like, what is best for us for the next couple decades? So there's a lot behind it, and we hear you on the contingencies, but to comment on that, it's very likely that some of that money will be spent by us trying to improve the system as we implement, because we don't know exactly what all the options are. And as the team sits down and really cranks through implementation, there may be things that we decide we want to add. So it can go both ways. So sometimes the contingencies could be a really good thing. So anyway, I just want to kudos to them, and Rod and Kevin's leadership has been instrumental on getting to this point. So thank you very much.
Well, and I'm sure Kevin is looking forward to round 2. Absolutely. So thank you for those comments. All right, moving on to our reports. First up, we have General Counsel. Again, good morning, sir. Anything to report today?
Good morning, board members. Just real briefly, our office and staff have been working on finalizing the Tuscany Village Pipeline Extension Agreement that the board approved at the last meeting. We're hoping to share that with the property owners and the developer and get that wrapped up here shortly. So just wanted to give you an update on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Miller.
All right, I have a few things.
Okay.
The first thing, I was fortunate to be invited to participate in a roundtable and press conference with the Riverside Mayor and with Secretary Wade Crowfoot, who's the State Secretary for Natural Resources, to talk about water conservation. As you know, the administration has been pushing very hard across the state to get 15% voluntary conservation out of the state. So I really appreciate that Secretary Crowfoot was down here to ask us, how's it going locally? And what is the situation in Riverside? So we had Elsinore, Eastern, RPU, myself, all commenting to the Secretary about how water conservation is working and the request for the additional 15%, how it's working in Riverside County. And we were very, very careful to explain to them how much our customers have already been conserving. So we started in 2007, and you've seen the chart. The board's seen the chart before. For 2007, for 10 years, we reduced our per capita usage by 50%. So we cut our usage in half. That was before the last drought. Then the last drought, we had the mandatory 25% cutback that the state board then turned into a 32% cutback for Western, and we cut back another 25% during that period. So we were pretty adamant with the Secretary. There is really not very much flexibility in our ability to get more conservation out of our customers. And that goes for Elsinore and Rancho and Eastern also. They've all implemented the same techniques. So he's very smart, he's very knowledgeable, he was well prepped for the meeting, he understands that, so we actually had a very good conversation about that. And then we were able to turn the conversation into the future, and I was very careful to make our points from Solve the Water Crisis, that it is going to take enormous investment on behalf of the state to build storage and conveyance, and we have to have it. What else is Riverside County supposed to do? Half of our water for the whole county is coming from imported sources. And we just heard from Huntington Beach, their desal project was denied. So half of our water is imported, and that's what our whole economy was founded on. So what are we going to do? And I think we landed. I think he understood. He certainly acknowledged it. But it's a lot of work. And, you know, he's on that big aircraft carrier at the state. How do you turn that aircraft carrier a little bit? But the fact that he was talking about the release of the Delta Conveyance EIR, and that was good news. And then he was talking about and acknowledging that they do have to increase storage. So I think it went really well. That was highlighted in the press conference afterwards. So the mayor participated, Cindy Roth from the chamber participated. So it was really a good event. Next item, we've taken advantage of some grant funding from Metropolitan. We're able to acquire $40,000 for leak repairs, so we took advantage of that. So congratulations again to our team. That was not easy. $40,000 maybe took $40,000 worth of work on our staff's part to get it, but we got it. Third item, wheeling with RPU. So we're actually ahead of schedule for right now. So they've delivered 160 acre feet of additional water, more than we would expect at this point. This is a huge accomplishment. Last year during the summer, they turned us off, so we're still getting water from them. Paul and his team has done an outstanding job working with them. And Paul shared with me that the RPU team has done an outstanding job of working very hard to make sure they continue to deliver water, which is really good news that we're working well together. Last thing. On your dais, we talked about some of our administrative code changes, and we talked about a list of vendors. It's more challenging than it sounds. And the bar, I want to be careful about this because, you know, the bar will give us a list of vendors. Well, as you can imagine, every time we buy a new part from anyone for anything, they become part of our vendor list. So tomorrow, we might have a new vendor. So we're producing a list. You have it in front of you. So I just want to make sure you're aware. That's a list, and read the title. You know, it's vendors paid within the last 90 days. Well, one of the actions that we took was you have to be careful of vendors and, you know, contributions, you know, 90 days out. Anything coming before the board. This does not include that. We don't know what's going to come to the board in the next 90 days. So this is existing vendors that we're paying money to. So it's a good tool for you. Where did Andy go? Andy is the one generating this list. So we're trying to automate it so that you have access to it all the time, but it still will not have matters pending before us in the future, obviously. So use it for what it's worth. And Jeff helped us kind of develop what we were going to produce, because our fear, you know, this is the board's, the elected's responsibility. I want to be careful about us providing you a document and giving you a false sense of security that you're fully covered. You still have to make your own decisions.
And I would just add to that, you know, the ordinance that the board adopted does require a knowing element. So there's some protection to the board members if you accidentally solicit a contribution, not knowing that they've submitted a proposal that's going to be coming before the board, you know, in 6 months. So there's some protection. So use this for what it is.
That's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Miller? Okay. Moving on to directors' reports and requests. We'll start with SAPA.
SAPA as an entity did not meet, but the PA 24 committee, which is the Brine Line, did meet this week and authorized preparation and release of a RFP for development of a master plan for the Brine Line. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Metropolitan, I don't have an update this time. We have pushed the meeting back. There was a little bit of a hiatus and a break for some activity in July, and so I will have a report at the next meeting. Chino Basin.
Chino Basin was largely dark during July. They did do a half-day training session on Robert's Rules of Order, which confirmed my belief that I really don't like Robert's Rules of Order. And they had a special meeting, really a workshop, more history and what is Chino Basin Water Master and how does it work and what are some of the issues and where do they come from and how might we deal with them in the future. And that was a very productive meeting. And that was it.
Okay, thank you. CDA.
CDA.
Correct.
It's tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. RCRA.
We're dark till September.
Okay, thank you. WRCOG, we had, it was a fairly light agenda. A lot of things going on. There's a lot of activity going on with the cities right now and some pushback on some bills that are, everything dropped and they've got a deadline for what's going on up at the state. And, the state is back from vacation, so there's a lot of activities going on. I think the end date is on the 12th for all of the bill language to finally settle and move. And so there's some real concerns, and there was some discussion over those and the bill actions and things that they're hoping that the cities can do a little bit of pushback on. Obviously, we have our own water-related issues that we concentrate on, and we've been kept up to speed on all of that stuff. And then, of course, there's the ongoing discussions over the PACE program, some of the closed session items going on in relationship to some of the litigation that's going on because of that. So, once we can talk about that, if we can ever talk about it, I will bring that back to let you know, but it's still in closed session. So that's about the gist of it for WRCOG. Sarah.
We will meet August 9th.
Okay, thank you very much. For Aqua, there wasn't anything to report. We do have a Aqua Region 9 board meeting later on in the month. So I believe it's on the 30th? Here. So it will be, we have offered our building as a location centrally for everybody, and they took us up on that offer, so happy to do that. And we'll keep you posted on all of the activities that are going on with Aqua. We look forward to the fall conference that's coming up. I think that just opened for registration, and the fall conference will be down in the desert this go-around. So
President
we'll keep you.
Denstead?
Yes.
Could I add to your Aqua update?
Sure.
I was invited to present Solve the Water Crisis to the Aqua Board in their workshop last Thursday. So we took an hour, 45 minutes to talk with the Aqua Board in a workshop environment about Solve the Water Crisis. So it was a good opportunity for us, and it went well.
Great. Well, that's great news. Good to hear. So we'll keep you all posted on what's going on with Aqua, certainly as we get closer to conference time too. Okay, I'm moving on to director's comments today. Director Rizvi, any comments today?
No comments.
Okay, Director Roughton?
Just a couple. I was able to attend, as well as I ran into Director Rizvi, the National Night Out that was held last evening with the three cities of Eastville, Hoopa Valley, and Norco. Nice turnout, nice event. It was held in Norco in Eastville this year. The three cities, this is our only event that we do together with, I say we, because, I'm still attached to the Hoopa Valley thing.
Get it.
And it rotates each year to a different city. So this year was Eastville's turn, and they had it was at Harada Park, very nice presentation. They had CHP and sheriff, and all three cities had booths and things. There were some nonprofits. They had JCSD provided a stage, and they had music going on. It's it's not School of Rock. I can't think of what you've heard of them. They're like local young folks that are part of this, Rock Stars, I think it's called. Anyway, yeah, I forget. I probably don't. Is it Rock Stars? Yeah. And so they were loud, and that means I'm old. And, but it was just so nice seeing all the families out, people just mingling, no big agenda, just enjoying themselves in the evening in the summer. And I really thank our law enforcement they're the ones that really pulled that all together across the nation. So that was nice. And then Craig and I and Armand from Hooper Community Services District gave a presentation to the Eastvale City Council on July, I think it was 27th or 8th, whatever their council meeting date was, and 27th, I think. And when I got there, Craig says, Laura, they only wanted us to talk for 5 minutes, but Sarah called and we got 10. Well, I don't know, 35 minutes later, higher?
We were there for an hour.
Yeah, because they were so engaged, and I was really excited about that. They were asking questions from us and questions from JCSD, and a lot of concern about the turf, non-functional turf restriction, and what does that mean for them? And of course, they've got landscaping ordinances and things like that. So we got to answer a lot of questions about Solve the Water Crisis. They seemed like, in fact, I believe they directed staff to look into what participating in that means and for them. So I'm assuming they'll come back with maybe an agenda item, or perhaps it's within the signing jurisdiction of the general manager. I don't know, city manager. So anyway, it was very encouraging. There was a lot of good energy, concerns, of course, and there should be, because it's very concerning. But I thank you, Craig, for being there and just really being able to answer a lot of the technical things that, I don't have that expertise at this point, and probably will never have some of that expertise, I wouldn't think. And Armand did really well because JCSD is the provider for City of Eastvale. He took a little bit of heat from the council, but he was just very professional, calm, and much discussion about collaboration. So it was very worthwhile, I think. So I just wanted to report out on that, and that's it.
Great, thank you very much. Director Torres, did you have the director's comments today?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I had the opportunity to attend National Night Out here in Woodcrest, over there in Woodcrest. And I mean, it was just a wonderful event with the sheriffs, since that is where he is from. So I feel like it might be bigger out there, their presence, excuse me. I did, I was happy and proud to see that Western had, had a presence there. From my understanding, and a lot of people came to me towards the end and were very, very thankful. They said it was one of the first times that Western had come out and shown interest. And so I'm very grateful for that. I really appreciate more community engagement. And I've mentioned how much better we've gotten at that since Sarah's been around. So thank you. And no, those are my only comments.
Okay, thank you. Director Gardner?
Thank you. Two things. There's been a lot on the news in the last day or two about increased solar activity and solar flares and electromagnetic pulses, and we are potentially all in deep poop and you ought not fly. I know that you're aware of it, Mr. Mauser. Is there anything that we should know about that you are doing? Is there anything you need from the board that might be of assistance at this time?
I don't have anything at this time. Anything like that is stuff that we're monitoring. We keep an eye on and see what might come into our world. If something like that had significant impact on operations and technology, it's not going to be just Western. The good news is we've seen stuff throughout our community. We see it in water operations. I recently had the opportunity to see it through other municipal agencies, cooperation on cyber issues. That's an element that we have at our disposal to pull together. We're also very good. It doesn't happen often. I know Paul's team, for example, they probably experience it more than our team does, but when we got to get manual, we get manual. So we keep an eye on that stuff, but nothing at this point. We'll keep an eye on those things, and if there's support or budget needs or adjustments or changes we need to make, we'll certainly bring that stuff forward through the general manager and get it in front of the board and advise the board on anything that the board needs to be aware of. But nothing at this time.
Thank you. I didn't really expect, especially after your comments about how we back everything up hourly, and
Yeah.
I didn't expect there was more that we should be doing, but it is out there. They're making a bigger splash about it than typically they do with solar storms.
Sure.
So maybe this is a bigger one, maybe not, we'll see.
An interesting correlation is by going to cloud services, our systems are now running in highly advanced data centers that incorporate more protections for that kind of stuff than we probably have in this building. But before I say completely no, is there like hats and sunglasses? Can we get, I don't know. Throwing that in there.
There you go.
Right?
Okay, then the other thing is, along the lines of National Night Out and law enforcement in general, Riverside's Police Department lost a fairly long-time sergeant in an off-duty motorcycle accident earlier this week. His name is Matt Lewis. He had, I believe, 4 kids. And I'd like to ask the president if she would consider adjourning in his memory.
Certainly. And thank you, Director Gardner. Okay, so just a couple of things that I wanted to highlight. I want to say to certainly the general manager, Mr. Miller, but to staff in general, we've had some really productive side-by-sides with our companion agencies, with Eastern, with Rancho, with Elsinore. And I just want to say, I really appreciate the time that you take to bring that information so that we can have very frank dialogue with these folks and how we collaborate with them and how we've really been working so well together. And it's very clear to me during those meetings that you guys have really have strong partnerships and very strong relationships with these folks. And so I just want to call attention to that and call it out for what it is. That just provides such a great service to us and just a great service to the community as a whole when we're all working together like we are. So just thank you for all of the things that you do on the side-by-sides.
And it wasn't that long ago that the agencies didn't work all that well together.
Yes. So I just wanted to, call that out for what it is. I attended the Oh Wow. That was an interesting discussion. They gave a very detailed presentation over where they're at with the round 2 of Prop 1 funds. So they're working through that process. We could certainly provide a list if anybody is really interested for all the projects. I think there were 26 in total projects on that list. So, and the money that's looking forward to doing that. So as we move further down that process and what's getting pushed forward, so we can keep you up to date on all that. And it's always good when our area, our region, gets the piece of the pie. Even if it's not us directly, we want to make sure that our region is getting a piece of the pie. So kudos to everybody that's part of that process and working really hard to bring those funds here from those grant monies. We really appreciate it. And then I wanted to let everybody know that later on in the month, I'm going to be having a trip scheduled. It's a day trip for Diamond Valley Lake, and I'm having that sponsored through Metropolitan. And Chairwoman Gray has asked me to partner with her on that trip, so I'll be meeting with staff to discuss the parameters of that and how many people can actually attend, and how fast we can get that moving and out in the lists, and if it's going to be a bigger group, little group. So I'll be getting some guidelines on that and hopefully be able to share that with y'all here a little bit down the road. So we'll keep you posted. And then one last comment that I wanted to make, well, two last comments I wanted to make. I do really appreciate our collaboration partnerships with National Night Out. You know, I think it's really important. You know, law enforcement has had its fair share lately, and they do such a stellar job, and we need to always remember these are the folks who choose to live their lives, that when it all jumps off and bullets start flying, they are running towards them and not away from them. So they are first responders, and we partner with them, and we certainly want to make sure that we do what we can because they are protecting our facilities as well. And they understand the criticalness of our facilities, and we've had a number of their executive teams, sheriffs, police chiefs, whatnot, take part in our tours so that they understand what critical nature of our facilities are in place. And they are very aware of their locations and what we do for the public. So we really appreciate those partnerships. And just like Director Torres said, it's really wonderful to see staff out there because the community participates in these events, and we certainly want to go where the community is going. So thank you so much to staff for being a part of those events. And then I wanted to do one last thank you. Appreciate the pop-up that we had just in Marietta last week. I attended that for the entire time that it was there, and I understand there was kind of a soft bet out there with staff as to how many participants and how many people would stop by, and it exceeded all of our expectations.
It beat my one? I
So-
bet one.
Yeah, no, we had quite a few people that stopped by and wanted to talk to us, wanted to get information, wanted to talk drought, wanted to talk about what was going on, wanted to see about the well. So I was really excited about the number that turned out and people that really engaged with us, and was happy to see and say hi to all those folks. So, and I always love it when they call me the water lady. Okay, I'll take it. It's fine. So thank you, appreciate that. And with that, I will move on to the dais for a request for future agenda items. Is there anything that's burning on anybody's mind?
Okay, so sorry, it's not an agenda item, but I forgot one thing in my report.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just to mention that I attended the Jurupa Valley Interagency Council, which occurs every other month, usually at the end of the month. So it was at the end of July, and this is where all the special districts and the city come together around a table, and they all do information sharing, so that we have a lot of special districts in Jurupa Valley, and this helps them to know what each other are doing and projects that are coming up, and the city gives a pretty detailed report. It was held, they move the location around. This one was held at Rubidoux Community Services District.
Great.
So that was kind of cool, and good water presence there. And I was able to pass out the Solve the Water Crisis little cards to everybody and, you know, make a quick mention about it. And people are probably going to just start calling me, oh, that's the Solve the Water Crisis person.
There we go. It's all good.
I was just going to make the motion.
Everywhere I go, it's like, I even
Can we
have them in
formally
my
appoint
purse.
Director
right.
Broughton as
Right.
Solve the Water
It's like,
Ambassador?
no, it's so important.
That's good.
And then I did find out at one of our committee meetings that Rubidoux has joined into that partnership. So I was excited to hear that, and JCSD is also part of it. So I just didn't want to forget to share that with you all.
Perfect. No, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to information items. Those are available in your packet for your review at your leisure. We do have a closed session item. I don't know if Brad had joined us on
Yes, I
Zoom.
have.
Okay. Mr. Neufeld, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Mr. Neufeld, it will be my intention to meet you in the closed session room on Zoom in about 5 minutes, sir, as we convert everything over. And we will be going in to conference with our labor negotiations for the general manager's contract.
And Madam President, just for the public's benefit, there is also a open session agenda item after the closed session that there may be action taken, so just FYI.
Thank you very much, Council, for bringing that, reminding me. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, we'll go ahead and move into closed session.
I can see you, but I can't hear you, Brenda.
Hang on just a sec.
Okay. Okay, now I have audio. We're good.
Okay.
We're just taking care of the technology side of it.
Okay, we're live. Okay. We are reporting back from closed session. Before we do that report from legal counsel, I'm going to have the board secretary please take roll.
Thank you. Director Roten?
Here.
Director Rizvi?
Here.
Director Gardner?
I am here.
Director Torres?
Here.
President Dinstedt?
I am present.
Thank you. President Dinstedt, you have a full quorum.
Thank you very much. This time we'll go ahead and allow legal counsel to report out of closed session. Mr. Neufeld.
Yes, there was no reportable action taken in closed session, but as indicated on the open session agenda, the board has determined that they would like to consider the following proposal to amend the general manager's employment agreement and provide him, and this would be a motion to amend the general manager's employment agreement to provide for a 3% merit salary increase on his base salary prior to his receiving his cost of a living adjustment this year. That's item number one. Item number two would be that his car allowance would be increased by $100 a month. Item number three is that he would receive this year a $25,000 merit bonus. And item four is to amend the agreement to provide that in future years, the board may grant him a merit bonus of up to 10% of his salary at their discretion, so long as he receives at least a satisfactory performance evaluation. So those are the four items. If it's the board's pleasure, then we would need a motion on that and a second.
Madam President, I will make that motion, but I'd like, before we get into any board discussion, I'd like to be sure that anybody who might be online with public comment has an opportunity to speak, but they should know what the motion is.
Yes, so I will go ahead and take your motion, and I'm looking for a second.
Are we going to call for public comment?
Yes, in just a second, as soon as I get the second.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Do we have any member of the public who wishes to make any comment?
I see no request to speak.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Miller, any comments?
Thank you very much. Western's a great place to work, and we're doing great things, and I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no further comments from the board, I will go ahead and call for the vote, Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Aye.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstedt?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, Mr. Miller. And we certainly do appreciate your hard work, your due diligence, and everything that you do for this organization.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And Madam President, with
Yes.
that, I'm going to sign off, except to say that Craig, I will be preparing that amendment, and we'll send it over to you for your signature, and then the board president will sign it as well.
Okay, thank you, Brad.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Okay, we have, our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, August 17th. And my colleague has asked that we adjourn this meeting, so I'm going to allow Director Gardner, if you would please adjourn this meeting, sir, in the honor as you requested.
Thank you. I would like to adjourn the meeting in honor and memory of Riverside Police Sergeant Matt Lewis, who was killed in an off-duty motorcycle accident earlier this week. He was a very well-respected member of the department and popular in the regional law enforcement community. He'll be missed.
Thank
And
you,
with
sir.
that, we're adjourned.
Thank you.